Hey Redemption Gateway, Josh here with your daily dose. We are doing these 5 favorite sermons by me, and this is number 4, my 4th favorite sermon I've preached here as a pastor and preacher of Redemption Gateway. And it was Hey Redemption Gateway, Josh here with your daily dose. We are going through my 5 favorite sermons, and this one comes from Romans. We taught this in 2014, so years ago. We're in the old building and we walked through the entire book of Romans. It took us almost maybe the whole year, I don't quite remember, but it took us a long time. And I got to teach Romans 14, which, if you don't know that passage, it's a unique passage. It talks about this thing, Christian liberty. Areas where Christians are free to disagree on topics and how they should function within those disagreements within the church. And you think, how is that applicable? Well, it's always applicable. I went back and watched the sermon, and I just had some great illustrations. I talked about media. I talked about education. Should I homeschool? Should I public school? How should I view this? How should I view that? And I had lots of illustrations that really were applicable to that day and time. And if I was to teach that same message today, I'd have a lot of the same topics brought up. The media might be different. So I remember talking about Breaking Bad. That was the show back then. 40 years from now, that show and the media I brought up in that last message will be irrelevant. But here's what was relevant then and is relevant now especially. Christians should not use their opinions, their convictions, the way they view the world to divide with other Christians. Rather, Paul says this: Jesus welcomed you, therefore you should welcome one another. And here's what I love. Just being a broken sinner, just like all of us, standing there in the moment, opening God's word and helping us all, broken sinners, see how we're supposed to come together and be united. Not be completely on the same page with everything we think and we see how we see the world and all of our convictions, but being united because Jesus has welcomed each of us, therefore we should be welcoming of one another. I can't think of a more relevant topic than that in this day and age right now, with COVID and our response and the government's response and the economic reopening of the state and all the various thoughts and convictions and political leanings that go into that. Here's what Paul would say: welcome one another. Do not let judgment and arrogance creep and let divisions to be caused amongst you. But you are the people of God. You are the people who did not deserve a seat at the table, and yet Jesus has invited you in. He has welcomed you. And that's why I love teaching. It's all about grace. Jesus was gracious towards us, therefore we should be gracious towards one another. So if you want to watch it, we're going to have it in the notes, but that was out of Romans 14 many years ago, that Christian liberty is not to be used to divide. It's meant for us to stand with our convictions, our opinions, but still be able to welcome one another into the same church, into the same homes, because that's what Jesus did with us. I hope you enjoy.